Maybe you disagree, but I feel like after doing this for so long, like I've been making YouTube videos since I was in 6th grade, so I was like 11 years old. But as I got more into games coverage, I thought eventually certain stories would just kind of glance off me. The shock and awe would eventually wear off, but it still cuts through, man. And I don't know how, but I think this industry is just incredible with what it'll do to potentially try to save some money, especially when you have a valuable IP that has performed well and its sequel is likely set up to also do very well with its established community. I don't know, man. It's just a fascinating story here involving Krafton, Unknown Worlds, and Subnautica 2, a game I never thought I'd be talking about on this channel, and I mean that with no disrespect, just it's not exactly my bread and butter, as many of you know the type of games I do play, but to me, a lot of this is that real alternate history route where we knew how Bethesda and Obsidian agreed on a Metacritic score that if Obsidian hit that with New Vegas, then Bethesda would have paid them out. This feels like an alternate history tale of that rendition, except like Obsidian would eventually have their leadership core laid off to avoid that Metacritic score, and then they would absolutely go crazy from there with lawsuits, leaked documents, and so on. And that's what we're getting into today, ladies and gentlemen. This Subnautica 2 story, I know it's not necessarily the game I cover often on the channel, but it really is about the awareness here. I feel like you should know about what Krafton is doing here, and it requires us going all the way back to 2021 to break it all down. So if you're new here, you're into what's going on in gaming, you're in the right place, consider subscribing. So let's roll it back a little bit. Krafton bought Unknown Worlds, the developers of the Subnautica series, back in 2021, October of 2021 to be specific. And they wrote here, Unknown Worlds will function as an independent game development studio wholly owned by Krafton and will continue to operate globally with talent seeded throughout the world. Unknown Worlds structure and leadership will remain in place to retain its unique creative identity. In addition to ongoing updates for Subnautica and Subnautica Below Zero, Unknown Worlds is currently working on a new genre-defining game which is slated to launch into early access in 2022. The key sentiment there being, we are going to keep the leadership intact. Well, allow me to springboard ahead of this story. Subnautica 2 developers' entire leadership team will be replaced in a shock move. Krafton said it will bring renewed energy and momentum. So by that statement alone, it is indicating that the current leadership core was the problem here. Let's read what IGN reports. They say, former Striking Distance CEO Steve Papoutsis is joining Subnautica 2 developer Unknown Worlds as CEO amid the shock announcement that the previous leadership team of Ted Gill, Charlie Cleveland, who we'll hear a lot about later, and Max McGuire have been replaced effective immediately. Unknown Worlds owner Krafton, which is behind PUBG, failed to expand on why the leadership team had been gutted, but said it sought to keep the Unknown Worlds co-founders and original creators of the Subnautica series involved with the game's development, and it wishes them best on their next endeavors. Krafton insisted Papoutsis will prioritize development momentum and delivering the best possible fan experience and will bring renewed energy and momentum. It is unclear what the change means for the launch window of the game, which we will also get into. So now we go over to Subnautica's Reddit page where Charlie Cleveland wrote a full-on novel about just where he started, where the franchise Subnautica ended up, and how he's feeling. I feel like you should read it for yourself. I'll have it linked down below, but you'll see here a key quote is, so you can see why for Max, Ted, myself, the Unknown Worlds team, and for our community, the events of this week have been quite a shock. We know that the game is ready for early access release, and we know you're ready to play it. And while we thought this was going to be our decision to make, at least for now, that decision is in Krafton's hands, and after all these years, to find I am no longer able to work at the company I started stings. Keep that quote in mind there about, hey, we know this is ready to launch. It'll play a major factor later. So we get this letter to the community from Unknown Worlds, developers of Subnautica, and they say a couple of key quotes here, like they are supporting Steve Papoutsis as he transitions into his role as CEO at Unknown Worlds. Below that, they say when it comes to Subnautica 2, the team has been working on the game day to day over the last few years, and that remains completely unchanged. The team includes veterans of the Subnautica series, dating back to the earliest days of the original Subnautica, to the many incredible and talented developers who came aboard to help us bring our vision for Subnautica 2 to life. So what they're really illustrating here is there are no major changes to the team except the leadership core. Again, very important to note here. We jump to the bottom and they say, while we work with Steve and get him up to speed with all the amazing work the team has done on Subnautica 2, we also understand that it means we'll need to ask you to remain a little patient and support us as he comes on board. An update to our schedule and more information, including the early access timeline, will be coming soon. They concluded with saying, one final thing we want to address, that as we've seen some additional concerns about it, nothing has changed with how the game is structured. It will remain a single player first experience with optional cooperative multiplayer, no subscriptions, no loot boxes, no battle passes, no microtransactions. So at this point, this is where I had first checked into the story, and I caught up on this and I went, okay, strange removal of leadership, but the game seems to be remaining intact. Clearly something went wrong here, and this will evolve. Well, 6 days later, we got an update on the early access timeline. Here's what Unknown Worlds had to say. As you know, we deeply believe in the open development process at Unknown Worlds. As for our games, from Natural Selection to Subnautica, have been fully committed to that process. The first phase of open development on Subnautica 2 was a series of playtests that recently happened behind the scenes with our community. We got some great feedback about Subnautica 2 during those playtests. The community was responding well to the environment, creatures, and story, and felt positive about the general direction of the game, gave us a great indication that we're swimming in the right direction. It also provided some insight that there are a few areas where we needed to improve before launching the first version of Subnautica 2 to the world. Our community is at the heart of how we develop, so we want to give ourselves a little extra time to respond to more of that feedback before releasing the game into early access. With that in mind, we've made the decision to delay Subnautica 2's early access release to 2026. We're extremely thankful for the time the community has put into playing the game so far and answering our questions. We plan to continue running playtests to ensure that we're meeting even more of the expectations you all have for Subnautica 2. And they add that the reason behind this is now that Subnautica 2 is coming out in 2026, we'll be able to add more biomes, more vehicle upgrades, additional tools, expand on our story, and include more creatures to discover. So this is strange, right? We just had a developer letter come out over on Reddit from one of the studio founders and said, hey, this thing is ready to go and we know it. It sucks we can't be there though. We get the post saying, hey, we're transitioning the new CEO. We'll give you an update on the timeline soon. Now it's delayed to 2026 without really much of a window beyond that. And especially for a game that was just about to come out pretty soon, to then suddenly move into 2026 is pretty alarming. Like, what did you suddenly catch? What did your playtesters, if you've been doing this in open development for so long, what suddenly got caught up that has resulted in pushing this game back? Revenue targets, apparently.
Hello, I like money.
Let's read. This comes from Game Developer, who was covering a paywalled post over on Bloomberg from Jason Schreier, and it says, report, Krafton allegedly delays Subnautica 2 to avoid paying devs a $250 million bonus. So right now, we're in the spice of it, to be clear. A lot of that prior stuff was set up, but it's all very necessary to understand where we're going to go. So they write, according to sources who spoke to Bloomberg under anonymity, publisher Krafton reportedly pushed out Unknown Worlds leadership, which impacted the original release window. At the same time, the studio was reportedly due a $250 million bonus tied to revenue targets. Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier claimed via Blue Sky that he received additional documentation on the reported earnout, saying that 10% of that, or up to $25 million, was due to be paid out to about 40 Unknown Worlds staff, each receiving varying amounts, and mostly six figures. Leadership reportedly said it would also give parts of the bonuses to other employees. In a statement to Bloomberg, Krafton said that the decision to delay Subnautica 2, quote, was not influenced by any contractual or financial considerations, end quote. The sources reportedly told the publication that the delay was, quote, against the wishes of the studio's former leadership, end quote. The exact comment that they submitted was, during playtests for Subnautica 2, we received valuable feedback from our community that reinforced our confidence in the game's direction. At the same time, the feedback highlighted a few areas that could benefit from further refinement before release. As community voices play a central role in how we shape our games, we've made the decision to give the development team more time to implement that feedback and deliver a more complete experience. As a result, Subnautica 2's early access launch has been rescheduled for 2026. Now, according to an audio of the company town hall held this week, which was reviewed by Bloomberg, Papoutsis told employees that Krafton didn't believe Subnautica 2 was ready to be released this year, and that the delay was to add more content to it. When asked whether the delay was decided so the publisher could avoid paying the $250 million bonus, Papoutsis says he is not familiar with the specifics of the contract. He added that the details of the acquisition were beyond his current understanding at the moment, and that he was never told that the delay meant specifically to impact any earnout or anything like that. And keep in mind, before I give some additional thoughts here, Krafton just recorded record annual revenue. So yeah, story as old as time itself. Company does well and then proceeds to just tighten up. It's so backwards. Again, not asking for these big companies to run charities, but really? Record revenue, but really? So basically the running theory is this. You have revenue targets. If Subnautica 2 gets out this year, then you have the potential with those sales to hit whatever X revenue target was. We really don't seem to know that. But if you do hit that revenue target, which Subnautica 2 would likely surge you toward that, guess what? You get the $250 million payout. It seems like, and it's just speculation, Krafton was not ready to live up to their part of the deal there, because it's like, well, you're not going to hit that revenue target in 2025. So therefore, we're going to delay the game to 26, where it seems like that part of the agreement is null. Again, this is where I kind of did my alternate history version of Bethesda and Obsidian and the Metacritic deal that was attached to that game. There are some really weird, funky bonuses that seem to exist in the games industry that I've never been privy to. The Metacritic bonus was a crazy one, but that's a age-old story from Bethesda and Obsidian. But to now see like, oh, it's a revenue target and that you can delay the game to get out of paying that out, it's just devious. And I know they're like, well, look, man, we didn't do it for that, but come on. It's way too convenient, and especially as we're not done here, we're going to see how it escalates. It's very weird. We have to acknowledge the elephant in the room here. It's very weird, as we're going to get into in a moment here, to see the developers pushing to get their game out into early access this year versus a publisher that's saying, no, we want you to take time and release this next year. Again, Subnautica 2, it seems like, is going to be an early access game either way. So a delay now or a delay later might not actually have the biggest impact on where the product actually ends up outside of a lot of its readiness. But I think when people, I say this as someone who is not big on early access, might I add. Like, I'm big on just dipping my toe in the pool. I don't fully submerge myself, pardon the pun, but I just like to wait for that 1.0 version. I don't know if going out to 2026 puts them in that 1.0 state, but it seems very obvious and very targeted and very backwards for a publisher that's invested in an early access title to not get it out soon, get recoup on it, and watch the product grow over time. So now we get to 5 days ago, as we record this video, a lawsuit. Suddenly the founders of Unknown World are suing Krafton. Here's what Charlie wrote. Hello, everyone. It continues to be an explosive and surreal time for the Subnautica team and community. None of this is what we wanted, but we truly appreciate the amazing support we've gotten from everyone. It means a lot to us, especially now. As I wrote last week, we know in our souls that the game is ready for early access. That's just how we roll, and we'd like nothing more than for you to play it. Game devs live for this, but it's not currently under our control. We've now filed a lawsuit against Krafton. The details should eventually become public, at least mostly public. You all deserve the full story. Suing a multi-billion-dollar company in a painful, public, and possibly protracted way certainly is not on my bucket list, but this needs to be made right. Subnautica has been my life's work, and I would never willingly abandon it or the amazing team that has poured their hearts into it. As for the earnout, the idea that Max, Ted, and I wanted to keep it all for ourselves is totally untrue. I'm in this industry because I love it, not for the riches. Historically, we've always shared our profits with the team and did the same when we sold the studio. You can be damn sure we'll continue that with earnout/bonus as well. They deserve it for all their incredible work trying to get this great game into your hands. This reminds me a lot of a team Supergiant. Number one, their games release into early access and feel more polished and content complete than most 1.0 video games. So there's that avenue where early access can just really vary in quality. There's the other avenue here of just the trickle down bonus effect, which is really huge in payouts for independent teams, especially. And when the report is saying that 40 developers on that team were going to get their bread effectively, that is crazy, man. That it's not just the founders who are robbed if they're true to their word, which they seem like their actions have backed that up. We're also talking about many of the current team working on the game that were not laid off are being robbed of life-changing money, six-figure money. And you'd think the story ends there. Okay, it's a lawsuit. We'll see what happens and cover it moving forward. No, there is more. There was a leak over on the Subnautica Reddit, and it is of a milestone review from Krafton of what the game currently is and what it's to be. And a lot of the to be is what you see mentioned as part of the 2026 delay. It's also a bit of a scathing review of the current content state of the game, saying that it is recommended to enhance the content volume and level of polish before launching so that it can expand and appeal to a broader market from the early access release stage. It also says that it falls short of meeting the high expectations of the OWSC and the Asian market. And that's not it. That leaks and you're like, okay, we've seen this before. Like, hey, I'm going to break out the phone. I'm going to take a picture of a slideshow. Yeah, okay, buddy. I'm sure that's real. It is. Krafton confirms it. Subnautica 2 drama gets even messier as Krafton confirms internal document leak is real. Here's the official quote. Krafton is issuing the following statement in response to growing speculation surrounding the development of Subnautica 2. This statement aims to offer clarity and context regarding the situation. The document that has been circulating on social media and reported by various outlets is indeed part of internal milestone reviews conducted as part of the Subnautica 2 project. Krafton has confirmed that portions of it have been leaked and now are widely being shared across online platforms and within the fan community. Krafton recognizes the confusion this has caused. Given these circumstances, Krafton, I love the third person here by the way, has determined that transparent communication is necessary and has chosen to confirm the authenticity of the document. Krafton believes that minimizing speculation and ensuring accurate communication with players must take precedence. Milestone reviews are conducted regularly in collaboration with Krafton's creative studios across all projects. These reviews help assess development progress, define clear objectives, and ensure that each project aligns with Krafton's standards in both creativity and quality. This process is central to Krafton's commitment to delivering polished, high-quality games at the right time. Krafton will continue working closely with Unknown Worlds to ensure that Subnautica 2 meets the expectations of players who have supported the franchise over the years, the statement concluded. Surprised to see Krafton just be like, yeah, that leak is real. Because I'm just wondering, with that admission, what they have planned, knowing a lawsuit is coming their way. Do they plan just to stall out a team of developers who don't have as limitless funds as a multi-billion-dollar corporation? I don't know. That's where we'll see where this story goes. And I thought that was it, but now there's more involving the bonus window, which according to Bloomberg has been extended, yet they are still being sued over at Krafton. Bloomberg writes South Korean video game publisher Krafton plans to extend the schedule for a potential bonus payout at its subsidiary Unknown Worlds after delaying the highly anticipated survival game Subnautica 2 until next year. That schedule has been extended an additional year, according to people familiar with the events at the studio and documentation seen by Bloomberg. Krafton also said it would advance a portion of the studio's projected 2026 profit-sharing bonus pool, which is independent from the bonus to all Unknown Worlds employees this year. So now the window's open for the game to actually succeed and maybe hit that revenue target that we were talking about earlier in the video. But as I've mentioned, it's just rapidly evolving, and yet they're still moving forward with the lawsuit. So it's really up in the air at this point in time, but it's just dramatic turn after dramatic turn. You really can't predict where it's all going to go. Still, this is likely good news for many of the teammates that are still there at Unknown Worlds. What this means for the leaders, though, is like, okay, now Krafton's kind of looking like they're in the right. Like, okay, they extended the bonus window. Like, who's the real problem here? Again, like, legitimately insane what's happening between these two. But nonetheless, thought signal boosting it was really necessary here, because you can see even how a publisher like Krafton, who, by the way, we covered positively on the channel, they came in, they saved Tango Gameworks and that original studio. They seem to be really big on Hi-Fi Rush 2. I was like, yeah, love me some Krafton. I see this and I go, man, that's what I got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. You let me know what you're thinking of what's going on here with Unknown Worlds, Krafton, Subnautica 2, and I look forward to hearing about it in the comments down below. Fire away. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.